Hi, and welcome to Acting Sessions. I'm your host, Marco DiGeorge. I'm the co-founder and instructor at Truthful Acting Studios. We're an acting conservatory located in Orlando, Florida. And from time to time, we like to come on and do these free sessions so we can answer questions that you have about the industry and hopefully give you some information, some good starting information on how to get involved and how to either get started in the industry or to progress your craft in the industry. If you're live with us today, either through our website or on YouTube Live, we have chat functionality. So please, you can put any questions that you have in the chat or any comments that you have. If there's any questions, I will try to get to as many as I can before the end of today's session. And so yeah, just put it in there. And then Samantha's on with us. She's going to be our administrator, and sometimes she will get back to you as well. So please feel free to interact. I would love to hear what you have to say. So for today's session, we're going to talk, the topic is understanding film acting. So many people around the globe that reach out to me about acting, I would say the majority is about film acting. That's usually where we get our first glimpse of acting. Is usually when we're watching something on television or we see a movie and it's like, oh wow, I really want to be able to do that. And so we get enamored by the film industry, and it's like, that's what I want to do. And so many actors that come to me, their goal or their dream is to be in a film or on television themselves. And so today I want to talk a little bit more about that. What is this? What is this thing called film acting? And the first thing to understand is that film acting is really not much different from theater acting. We separate them out because they are two different mediums. We see them different. Theater acting is something we go live and watch, and we see actors live on a stage doing a performance. And of course, to us, well, it's much different than being on a film screen or a television screen doing a performance. And yes, the optics are different from the audience's standpoint. But from the acting standpoint, many of the things that we do as far as our acting, our general acting, or stepping into character, the emotional life, all of the different things that we have to prepare for are actually very similar regardless of the platform. So that's the first thing I really want you to understand in this, is that really acting is acting is acting, and it doesn't really matter what platform you're on. Any sort of public presentation of something, which is what we do in acting, any sort of public presentation, it all is founded in very common principles. The difference is what I said before, is the optics, which means it's how the audience perceives it. To us as an actor, we are always acting live, right? So even though it's on film, when we perform it, it's live. It's happening right now. So because of that, many of the same principles of how we step into those moments, the same principles as we apply to theater apply also to film. So that's the very first big thing that I want you to understand as I begin talking about this more. The next thing is I have a quote from Goethe, which is, knowing is not enough. We must apply. Willing is not enough. We must do. So when we're understanding acting in general, whether it's film, theater, or any medium, when we're trying to understand acting, we must also understand that receiving the knowledge is a first step to doing something. But then we must apply that knowledge to really understand it. Right? We might have the will to become an actor, but until we do it, until we really go and apply that and do it ourselves, we're really not going to have the full understanding of it. And so this really applies. In film acting, there is going to be the knowledge, like things that I give you today. This is a more of an intellectual or a knowledge-based thing that I have going on today. Because you're sitting and listening to me talk about it. And that's important. There's so many things that you need to learn as an actor that you can get in this type of medium. But in addition, part of learning how to act is to act in any way that you can, is to actually apply the skills, apply the lessons to do those different things. So just know that is really, because these are two really important foundational things right away. One, all acting is acting, meaning it doesn't matter which medium you're on, there's a foundation that applies to all of it. And then secondly is there's two different parts of it. One is learning it, either in this type of an environment, in a classroom environment, we have to learn the knowledge, learn what we're receiving, but then to really learn it, we must do it. Okay. So good, and I have a question right in there right away. It's in our chat, and it says, do you need to do theater to get a role? That's a great question, and it's one that I did want to talk about today, actually. So thank you for bringing that up. And so, do you need to do theater? No. But will it benefit you? Yes, greatly. The best of the best actors that are in the industry are involved some way in theater. They either have been involved in theater in their past and in their training. Many of them are currently involved in theater, meaning they'll do a film, and then separately they'll go between films. They'll do a theater show. So, and you'll see this quite often is many of the A-list actors, they will perform either in New York or in London, and on Australia, some of the bigger stages. You will see the big A-list actors perform. And so that's something to understand, that even the big A-list actors are still working in theater, and that's because theater teaches us some very foundational principle lessons that we need to know. It teaches us how to exist in a moment, and not just a single moment, but an evolving moment. Because when we're live on stage, we are live on stage. It's happening now. There is no second take. There is no going back and redoing anything. Whatever happens, happens, and we need to keep moving forward. That's a really important foundational skill that we have to have as an actor, that then we take and we apply to film. So many film directors, especially in Hollywood and in the bigger industry, film directors are looking for actors that can stay in a moment, that can continue living in a moment regardless of whatever's happening. In film, we might film things multiple times, meaning we might have a shot that we do like multiple what they call takes, which means we're going to film this sequence, and then we stop, we cut, and then we go back, and then we're going to film it again, and we stop and we go back and we're going to film it again. So we can do it multiple times, which will give the director and the editor more resources to use when they're putting together the edit. When they're actually taking and selecting what they want to use to build the story, they have more resources for that. So we get to do it over and over and over again. Sometimes in film acting, as an actor, we think, oh, well, because we get to do it over and over and over again, it's okay that if something doesn't go the way I want it to, I can stop and redo it. But that's actually not true. Meaning, yes, you can stop, but the directors don't want you to. The director is the only person on a set that can tell you when to stop. When they say cut, then that's the end of it. That's when the camera stops rolling. That's when everything stops. And then we go back. We might do it again. So we have to learn that, because many beginning actors, what will happen is you'll memorize your lines and you'll get prepared and you'll have an idea of how the scene is supposed to go. And then all of a sudden we're in that. The camera's rolling, we're going in, we're acting, and maybe we flub a line, right? We say the wrong thing. And immediately in our head, we think, oh, I did it wrong. Let me stop it. And so the actor themselves will say, okay, I screwed up. Can I do it again? Like, we will stop the take. And that's something that we must never do. Because even though we, the actor, thought that that moment didn't work, it's not up to us. Film acting is all about the director and what they are seeing and what they are getting from us. So it's important that we learn to keep going forward. Now, in theater acting, when we're on stage, we might say the wrong line or forget where we are, or there might be things that happen. We can never stop. The show must go on, meaning the show must go forward. So we always must continue moving forward regardless of what happens. And we learn that. We learn that while doing theater. So while we don't need to do theater to get a role in the film or television industry, I do highly recommend theater. I think it's an incredible training ground for all actors, and especially film actors, and it will help you get more roles in the film industry. Another question that has come up in the chat. Let me get to this one. It says, how much time do you think we should memorize our lines per day? That's a great question. So memorization is something that what I find in the industry, and even this comes with actors I train, meaning trained actors that have a process, we underestimate how much time it really takes to memorize. For whatever reason, our logical brain thinks that memorization should be easier than it actually is. So let me just say right now, right here, memorization is hard. Memorization is extremely difficult. Now, initial memorization is not as difficult. So initial memorization, what I mean by that is what we call short-term memory. If you've ever been in school and crammed for an exam, right? You studied real hard, like maybe the night before or the morning before you take a test. We cram that information in our short-term memory, and then we hope that we remember it while we take the test. The problem with that is it doesn't go any deeper than that. We put it in our short-term memory, we remember it maybe for a few hours, and then it's gone. Without the repetition of it, it goes away. We lose it. So the repetition of memorization allows it to go into something called long-term memory. The continued repetition of that memorization moves it into something deeper called instinctive memory. Now, instinctive memory is something that most people already know how to do. For example, if you've ever memorized the lyrics to a song, if you have a favorite song and you know every single lyric, like you can sing it, the song comes on the radio or you're listening to your favorite song and you start singing along with it, and you don't have to think of the words, you know the words. It's because you've listened to it and repeated it so many times. It's now in what we call our instinctive memory. This is where we need to be with our lines for a script as well. We need to memorize over and over and over again. Now, as far as how much time per day, that's really up to the individual. Mentally, we reach an exhaustion point, and I would find out where yours is. So as far as script pages, what I usually do is go by script pages. I try not to make too much of a difficult task in memorization, meaning if I have, let's say I have 70 pages of script I need to memorize and I have a month to do it, I'll divide that out and say, okay, well, I'm going to do maybe 5 pages a day. And I'll see how that goes. I'll keep memorizing and keep working on memorization until I can feel the mental exhaustion. Once I reach a certain point, I'm no longer helping myself with that continued memorization. You need a break. You need a mental break. And what your brain really needs is a sleep cycle. So then your subconscious can begin working on it. You'll actually feel stronger with the words after you rest, after you sleep. So typically per day, mine is typically 10 script pages per day now. And I've worked up to that. I couldn't do that immediately, but I've worked up to that. But you can get to the point, you have to figure out where yours is. Is it 3? Is it 5? Is it like, what is that? Now work on it every single day. And even after you have it memorized, continue. After you have it memorized, continue to work on those lines as much as you can each day. And you'll be glad you did. Memorization is the one of the biggest things that gets in an actor's way. What I mean by that is we're constantly being pulled into our logical mind. Our logical mind is where fear comes from. And so we worry. We worry about saying the wrong words. We worry about forgetting our lines. We worry about these things. But if we're up here thinking about it and worrying about our words, we can't be out there, meaning connected with our partner in this present moment. We can't be connected in the scene, allowing ourselves to feel our way moment to moment to moment. So we have to get out of our head as much as we can. We do that by deep level memorization. It allows us to get out of here, get into this moment, and it gives us tremendous confidence in the scene, which is what most people want. We want that confidence. Believe it or not, memorization and working on the words as much as you can gives you that confidence and will increase your quality of your performance. Next question that's in the chat. I'm going to try to take these in order if I can. How many monologues do you think you should have prepared? So this is a, as far as monologues. Now, so in case anyone doesn't know what a monologue is a short piece of material. It's typically about a minute to a minute and a half long. And it's where we use these a lot in theater, especially theater auditions, where we stand up and it's just us speaking. It's one side of a conversation. And it's about, as I said, it's about 60 to 90 seconds long. So monologues can help showcase what we can do as an actor. And so it's good to have monologues that we can perform, because in the industry sometimes you might need to perform them for an agent, you might need to perform one for an audition. We just don't know when we need one, so it's good to have them prepared. As far as how many do you think I should have, I'm a big believer in having one main one, a monologue that you are the most proficient in, the one that really showcases the best of what you can do as an actor. And then an alternative, meaning something that shows a different side of you. Sometimes you'll hear in the industry dramatic and comedic, and really I don't like those terms because it doesn't really say what we need. When they say dramatic and comedic, what they really mean is something maybe darker and grittier, maybe something that has more of a deeper emotional connection, which would be the dramatic. And then comedic just means lighter, something that is not as deep emotionally. So something more heavier and something lighter, but something that shows two sides of what you're able to do in a performance. That's really all you need in a contemporary way. So if we're performing anything contemporary, meaning modern, then yeah, that's you need two main ones. I'm not a big fan of working on more than that, because I know there's some trains of thought that will say, oh, you need to have 10, you need to have 20. In my personal experience and even in my training of actors, you don't want to be working on too much material at the same time. You want to work on things that are the strongest of what you can do. So having two main that show different sides of you is critically important. Now, if you're in theater, or it's also good sometimes in film, depending on if they're doing period pieces, we might have something called a classical monologue, which means something more period appropriate. In theater, we think of that maybe as Shakespeare, for example. And really what that is doing something that is more time appropriate, period appropriate, and that is more difficult dialogue. So we have more difficult text. So many actors will have Shakespearean monologues as well. And again, we would have something a little heavier and something a little lighter from that genre. And that helps us do that as well. So in that case, we would have 4 if you're doing those. That's really all you need. You can work on more. You can have more than that. But truthfully, in the industry, we don't need more than that. Your monologue showcases the best of what you can do. So you want to always lead with the best of what you can do. Great question. Thank you for that. Next question. how much do we need to focus on how our acting looks, in quotes, looks on camera versus truthfully acting? There are many things actors do in film that look great, but they aren't really truthful. Love that question. Truthful acting is the most important thing. That is the goal of what we're doing. Sometimes in film and in television, and there's different levels, right? There's different levels of the industry. There's different levels of film. There's different levels of our acting, of performance. I had a good friend of mine, a producer, who made films in the let's say larger budget independent films, and so this was, he was dealing with millions of dollars, and also, paying actors and casting actors and all of that. But he would still struggle sometimes finding actors that could go to the deeper, truthful levels, especially emotionally. And I remember talking to me about it one day and just saying how he wished he had actors that could really go to those deep, truthful places, because they had to make it look like they were more emotional than they were in certain scenes. And this is interesting. So when the truth is not there for a director, then they have to apply other technical things to make it look like something is happening to the character. The actor needs to sometimes make it look like they're angry, or they're upset, or they're devastated, or whatever it may be. But this only occurs if you don't have the process in place to get there truthfully. In the industry, and what the A-list actors do, they go there truthfully. The truth in the moment is the most important thing, because we as an audience can tell the difference. When you're watching a film, when you're watching a play, when you're watching any sort of acting, when something is truthful or not. And you know it because you can feel it. So there's two stories always ever being told. There's what we call the surface story, which is up on top. The surface story is the one that we can see, we can hear. It's all of the basic technical things of the film. It's the dialogue, it's the wardrobe, it's all of that stuff. It's on the top. It's what we call the plot or the story. But the deeper story, which is underneath it all, is the one we can feel. So there's the one that we can see and hear on the top, and then deeper underneath it is the one we can feel, and that's really where our acting comes in. Our acting needs to be felt by the audience, meaning they need to feel the struggle of the character. They need to feel the wants and desires of the character. They need to feel the devastation and the loss of the characters. They need to feel those things. And if you've ever been watching a movie or a TV show and you feel an emotional response to what you're watching, then the actors and the filmmakers are doing their job. You're only going to feel it if there's something authentically happening on the screen. So that's what I would say. It's why I also, the name of our studio is Truthful Acting. So it's truthful acting because, to me, that is the most important thing. And what everyone in the industry is aspiring to is its truth in the moment, whether on stage or in front of the camera. We're after that truth in the moment. And the more you can work on that, and the more you can hone your skills in for that, the better your acting will be, and the bigger asset you will be in the industry. So thank you for that question. Let me see. How can I add more objectiveness to a scene or a monologue to give it context? Also, what is a good way to raise the stakes? Okay, so how do I add more context to material, and what is a good way to raise the stakes? Okay, so thank you for that question. So with all of our material, and this really goes into what I was just talking about as far as truthful acting, we raise the stakes and we add more context by simply making it as important as we possibly can. So let me clarify that. As I was talking about just a minute ago, we have the surface story, which is the plot. That's already given to us. That's given to us by the script. That's given to us by the direction. That's given to us by the set. That's given to us by our wardrobe. It's given to us by all of, the audience gets that no matter what. We don't have to even do anything. We just have to say the words, and the audience is getting the plot. So we don't raise the stakes by changing the plot or adding anything to do with the plot. But it's this underneath, it's this emotional level. We raise the stakes and we give more context to a scene by making it more personal to us. More personal. We think, when we first get into acting, that acting is about pretending to be somebody else. That's typically what the perception is, and what most of my students will say. Like, first day of class, I'll ask, okay, what do you think acting is all about? And we'll think, well, acting is about pretending to be a character. And yes, that's what many people see from the outside. We think that acting is about pretending to be somebody else. The truth of it is, acting is not about pretending to be somebody else, but actually going into the depths of who we truthfully are to reveal something very deep and very personal from inside ourselves. Deep and personal from in here. Sanford Meisner, who our entire approach is based on, is one of our founding fathers of modern day acting. Sanford Meisner said, acting is not about putting on a mask to become a character, but peeling away of masks, layer by layer, to reveal the character, meaning the character lives deep inside of us, at our most vulnerable, most personal place, inside of you, the human being, you, the actor. So to add more context and raise the stakes, we need to find ways to make it personal to ourselves. And there's various tools that we do. When you learn how to act, we go through various ways to do that, to make it as personal as you can. So very quick examples of that, though. The relationship, meaning how strong the relationship between you and the other character is in the scene. This is typically a choice you make as an actor. Like, who are you talking to, and how important are they to you? We need to make that relationship as strong as it can be. That raises the stakes immediately. That adds context immediately. How important is this other person in the scene with you? Like, who are they? And we need to make that. And we want to make choices that the other character in the scene is somebody extremely valuable to us in some way. Even if they're the enemy, they're still valuable to us. Meaning, removing the enemy is valuable into what we want, which then goes into our second thing, which is, what must we do? What are we fighting for in any given moment? Every scene is a fight for something. It's a fight for understanding. It's a fight to get the other person on our side. It's a fight to get them out of the way or remove them completely. But every scene is a fight. It might even be a fight just to get someone to agree with us, right? A fight to change someone's mind. But every scene is a fight. And so the more personal the relationship is, and the more personal we make it, the more important we make it, then the stronger the fight can be. Because now we're fighting for something. That will add context and raise the stakes. And it doesn't matter if it's a scene or a monologue. It's really the same thing. In a monologue, we're talking to somebody. Okay, who are we talking to? And what do we need? Like, why are we saying these words right now? What do we need to accomplish by saying these words? It's not about the words. Acting is not about the words we say. It's about why we say them. Let's say it one more time. Acting is not about the words we say. It's about why we have a need to say them. And so that will add all of what you're asking for. Let's see. The next question is, what are some good acting exercises we can do at home? It's very difficult, without going through some sort of guided course or, something. It's very difficult just to look at some different most exercises need to be done with other people. However, one of the things I ask my actors to do, I'll give you two. I'll give you two things you can do on your own, which doesn't require anybody else. Uh, the first is to be more aware of what's happening around you. So I have another session, and if you have time to look at it, it's on YouTube, and it's called The Duality of the Human Psyche, and that really goes into depth of explaining what this is. And so you can look at that if you can, but it talks about how we have the part of us, which is our emotional core, which is present right here, right now. But then there's the part of us that's in our head, the other half of us, which is the thinking side, which worries about the past and the future. So those are the two sides of the duality. It's our logical mind and our emotional core. So many times, even though we are here, right now, in this moment, right, wherever you are, you're there, right now, your focus gets pulled away and you start thinking about something else. Thinking about something that you've done or that's in the past, or many times we think about the future, what is coming up, what we have to do next. So our focus is not necessarily right here, right now. So one of the most important elements of acting. And so instead, something you can work on is being here now. Now take it in small chunks. Do it like a minute at a time. You could, anything that you're doing, you could be cleaning around the house, and when you're cleaning, really clean. You could be eating something. When you take a bite of something, I want you to focus on it completely. I want you to focus on that bite of food. What does it taste like? What does it smell like? What does it sound like? All of those different things. It's a full sensory experience. Give all of your senses over to the moment and see what that feels like. And see how long can you exist in a present moment before you get pulled into your head again and start thinking about other things. So that's the first thing to work on. Just work on being present. You can do that wherever you are. Just really, really be present in the moment. And the second thing, as fundamental as this sounds, it's one of the most important things actors need to work on, is reading. Now, not just reading as in reading silently, but reading out loud. As actors, we are always taking words off of a page and saying them out loud, whether it's for an audition, whether it's for script reads, whether it's for memorization, whatever we have to do, our job is to take something that is on a page and make it sound as truthful as we possibly can. And there's a class I teach in voice where we have to work on this all the time. We have to work on our voice. We have to work on the way we pronunciate things, our enunciation, our diction, all of these different things, which are so important. Vocal clarity is critical to acting. And the way we improve that is by reading out loud as much as we can and making sure what we're saying is loud enough, making sure it's clear enough, it's enunciated enough, over and over and over. You can read anything you want. Pick up any book that you want, and it could be a book on acting, it could be more of a narrative book. You can read anything you want, but I would work every single day, just a little bit, on reading out loud. That is going to help you more than you can possibly imagine in your career. So I see we have a couple of audition things in here. So what I want to talk about, because I have other sessions that I've done on auditioning, but what I can say about auditioning, the things I've been talking about already, the two things for you to work on, outward focus and reading out loud, that's what an audition is. Any audition you go to is a micro version of what you do in the actual environment. For example, a film audition is a small microcosm of what you do on a film set. So in a film audition, you stand on a mark, you stand on a very specific place. You have a reader that is about, maybe 4 or 5 feet away from you, an acting partner that you're working with. you have the director or the casting director that is sitting off from you, and typically you're on camera. Well, this is the same thing we do on set. We're standing on a mark. We're working with an acting partner that is off camera. The camera is on us, and the director and the crew are around us. It's the same thing. It's just a very scaled down version of that. And it's important to think of auditions in this way, because what they're auditioning is, the way I audition for film or even for theater, it's really the same. It's very similar for theater. It's just it's a different optics. Is I say, okay, let's pretend this is my first day on set with this actor. Do they know how to do what they're doing? So as far as how to nail an audition, the biggest thing I would say is you have to learn about that segment of the industry. For film acting, you have to learn what it means to be a film actor. For theater acting, you have to learn what it means to be on stage. All of the different elements of that, and then you have to then apply that. When you walk into an audition, pretend it's not. Don't think of it as an audition. This is your first day on set. So your first moment on set with this director. So deliver a powerful performance. Give them what, don't think about, when we start thinking about I want to win the audition, it pulls us out. It puts us in here. It restricts us. Instead, no, just really live. Really live in this moment. Really exist. Outward focus. Fight for what you need. Importance. Raise the stakes. All of those different things. And then the more you learn, and again, you can watch. I have several other of these videos on our YouTube channel that you can go through and watch, and some of them talk about that. And then also, we're starting with Truthful Acting Online is going to be pre-packaged courses, and actually I have one coming up on film, and it goes over some of the basic things about film. And the more you learn about those things and apply them at the audition, then that's the best way to nail it, is to do that. Next, can I act without having attended an acting college? Absolutely. You do not have to have gone to college for acting to act. Now, it can help going to college for acting because it just gives you more experience. However, unless you're in a college or a university that specializes in the arts, you're still going to need to go after college to something called conservatory. So Truthful Acting Studios is a conservatory. Conservatory simply means a deep level of study in that particular art form. So typical conservatories, we might think of like the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts in London is a conservatory. Juilliard in New York is a conservatory. They're usually bigger schools, but they focus solely on the arts. And so it gives you more of the deep level process. That's more important than attending a college for acting. Colleges will give you things you don't normally get outside in the rest of the world. They'll give you the history of acting, the history of theater, the history of film, like a lot of those type of classes, which can be very beneficial, like learning more about where this comes from and why we do the things that we do. That can be very beneficial that we don't have the opportunity to get elsewhere. But really, the deeper level study of acting is going to come in your conservatory training. So yes, you don't have to have attended a college for that. You can then begin your acting journey just by starting to take acting classes. I do recommend conservatories. They will give you a deeper basis of study. But really, you can start anywhere that specializes in acting. Next question. What are some things you need to accomplish as a beginner in acting? So, training. It's going to be my number one thing. The biggest thing you need to accomplish is to complete training, because that's what they're going to look for, meaning the industry in film and theater, but the industry in general, the professional industry, they're going to look for what is your training. And that's the number one thing on a resume. Because as actors, we start with no experience, no actual experience, have been on stage, or maybe no experience in front of the camera. But we can start with training. That's something you can control. And the more training you have on your resume, the more opportunities that will open up for you, either to get smaller roles initially or with agencies or whatever it may be. So that's really what you need to accomplish as a beginner, is training as much as you can and really understand what acting is all about. Understanding the deeper process of it as much as you can. And then, as I talked about in the beginning of the session, is to apply it. Now, the best way to apply your acting, there's many things, especially in the bigger cities. There are film schools. Film schools are a wonderful way to get involved, because film schools then have their students who are learning how to be directors. The film schools are teaching them how to make film projects. They need actors, and so they will put out that they'll look for actors in the area. Now, it's a volunteer thing that you would do to get involved in a film school, but you get to act, and there's no risk, because they're making a film for a class. There's nothing really at risk. There's nothing that you can mess up, or there's nothing bad that can happen from you getting involved in that. So it's a great way to start applying the things that you know. And then also community theater. Community theater are theaters that are around local communities that, again, are just volunteers coming together to put on a play, and very low risk as well. And it's a great way to get involved and to work on your craft and to learn as much as you can. So you take your training, you take your student film, and you take your community theater, and you can start applying that. And that really is a great place to start. All right, moving right along. What makes a good self-tape audition? That's a very long answer to that, so I'm going to try to sum this up very quickly. But self-tapes, so just so everyone understands, self-tapes mean that, and it's happening a lot in today's industry, where then audition goes out, and they're asking, instead of you as the actor going in to audition live, they're saying, well, I want you to record yourself doing the audition and then electronically send it to us. So that's what a self-tape is. And so it's really no different. Meaning that if you go to an audition, all the things that happen, the only difference is now you're just doing it yourself. You're putting yourself in frame. You're putting yourself, you're just doing it yourself and then sending that in. That's really all that is. So all of the same rules apply. I do have another session that is on this, so I would look up to go into detail on that. But you want to make sure that you're seen well, meaning you have good lighting, because you need to be seen, and that you're heard really well. Those are two really important things on a self-tape. Your voice needs to be clear, and your lighting needs to be clear, so you can be seen and heard really, really well. That's the first thing. And then everything else comes down to what a standard audition is making sure you're really talking to somebody, that you're really fighting for something. Raise the stakes as much as you can. That's the best thing that you can do for that. Next thing, do you know some exercises or articulation exercises to eliminate the accents? I am Italian. Well, first of all, my ancestry is Italian as well, so you're in good company. So welcome. Here's the thing about accents. We love accents. It's not that you have to eliminate your accent. There's a misunderstanding about that. And so, one, you want to be able to articulate through the accent, enunciate through the accent. So if you're speaking English with an Italian accent, one, that's beautiful. So we don't want to lose that. And there's going to be many roles for you with that accent, which is beautiful. So don't ever think you need to lose that. We want that. But we want to make sure we can hear you through it. So the first thing to do is to slow down. Slow down when you're talking, and especially going back to reading out loud. Slow down and then over enunciate when you talk. Now, as far as when you're practicing and you're reading out loud, over enunciate, like really slow down and speak everything that you're saying. And it takes some work to do that in articulation. But that's the first thing. Most actors speak way too fast. So that's one of the major issues that actors have. They speak too fast. And because they speak too fast, we lose articulation and enunciation. We lose that. So slow it down. That's number one. So work on that, and then work on your articulation, which is just speaking every syllable as clearly as you can. Now, as far as if you do want to, as you asked about eliminating the accent, you won't eliminate your accent. You don't need to. But you might want to learn a different accent. So depending on where you are from Italy, you have that Italian accent, which is beautiful. But you may, let's say, want to get cast in something. They're looking for an American role, and they need you to play something more standard American. You will learn a standard American accent to put on top of your normal Italian speaking voice. That's really what it comes down to. You're going to learn another accent that you're going to apply. What I would do, there's lots of information online nowadays about that. What you want to do, though, when you're learning an American accent, when you're doing a search for it, make sure you're saying, I'm going from Italian to standard American. Like, I want to learn a standard American accent from Italian or from Italy. And that you'll find some resources on that. Really, all it is your articulators, which are all here in your face and your mouth. The articulators, it's just about moving your mouth in a different way. It's about controlling your voice in a different way. That's all it is. And so you can really learn many different accents by learning how to control your voice differently. It takes a lot of work. It's going to take some time, but you can absolutely do it. And now when you have the standard American accent, now you can just cover your own whenever you need it without having to eliminate it. You just cover it, just like all of the famous Australian actors do, the British actors do. All of those, they keep their normal accent. They just apply a standard American accent on top of it. So thank you for that question. All right, let's see a couple more that we have here. What is the difference between becoming an actor while being a child and becoming an actor at the age of 20s or later, so as an adult? Are there any advantages or disadvantages of becoming an actor at the age of 20s? I feel like I started out late as an actor, and that I should have started before being 20 years old. So, Jay, what I can say is that no, you're not late at all. There are advantages and disadvantages of being a child actor. It almost seems like there's more disadvantages than advantages of being a child actor because, depending on how much success you have, you miss out on other areas of life. Child actors are much different than adult actors. And regardless of if you've been acting while you were younger or not, there's almost a retraining of your acting that needs to be done as an adult, meaning like 18 to 20 years old and forward, there's more training that needs to happen. We're in different points of our life, and as you become that adult, which starts around maybe 16, 17, 18, and then going into our 20s, let's just say life gets complicated, and the logical mind takes over much more. So we need to apply tools and skills at a much higher level than we did when we were younger, and we can just go and have fun. Child actors really don't need as much training because their imagination is just so readily available, and they're able to just dive into something and fully feel the impact of it and fully express it. They're not worried about the self-consciousness of everything around them. As adults, we are. And it doesn't matter if you started acting at 6 years old. you're still going to go through that. From 12 years old to 18 years old, you go through this transition where the self-consciousness really sets in. So there's not really an advantage, and many child actors that started earlier find out that when they start going through that transition, they don't like it anymore. I find that adult actors have a higher success rate because they were able to have their childhood and then separately they learned about the acting later. And in fact, there's no age limit to acting. We have actors in our studio that are in their 70s. Our oldest student is in his 80s. So we have actors at all different levels. We go from teenagers all the way up into the 70s and 80s. So there's no limit. There's no age limit to acting. That's one of the beautiful things I love about this art. You can do it at any time, at any age. There's no right or wrong time to it. And you can start and you can be successful at any time or at any age. So the biggest thing is to just get started in it, get going in it. And we have something that we say in our studio, which is trust the timing of your life. So trust that. If you were meant to begin acting earlier, you would have. If you didn't, there's a reason for it. Trust the timing of your life. All right, so next question. We'll see if how many more we can get to before the end of this session. This is great. I love the fact that you're interacting with me on this, and I love the chance to be able to answer your questions directly. Is it a good way, firstly, to study acting at a university if you are international? So, Maria, what I would say is it depends on where you are internationally. If you have a university that is strong in the arts and will give you a strong background in the arts, then sure, you can study it. But you don't have to get a degree in acting. You can get a degree in something else, and you have electives. You can take an acting course or some beginning acting things in a university as an elective class. So that's something that you can do as well. But again, it's not. Conservatory is really where you want to go afterwards. Independent acting lessons, that's really where you want to go. And so that's what I would say. But if you have an opportunity to go to more university that is strong in the arts, then sure, then study it. Study acting wherever you can. But you don't have to. I want to just repeat that. You don't have to get a degree in acting. I know plenty of actors that you get a degree in something else, maybe something complementary. You can get a degree in psychology, which is very important as an actor to understand the human condition and understand what makes us tick, not just us, which is important to understand, but then in turn our characters. You can get, if you want to do American film acting, then getting a degree in English can be important. Understanding language, understanding storytelling, understanding composition, that's important. You can get a degree in history. All of our stories that are told are some sort of representation of history, whether current history and current events or past history that is just a story being retold. So, you can even get a business degree, because as an actor, you are going to be operating a business which is selling the likeness of yourself to other companies and organizations, which are the films. So, all of those different things can help you. So get a degree in something that excites you and that really can support you. It does not have to be a drama degree at all. Okay, so next question. How to work on confidence, especially with body image, self-esteem? This is very good question. Thank you for asking this one, because this is so incredibly important and what so many people want to know. How do we work on confidence? This is a tough one. To me, acting is that art form that can help you work on this. One of the biggest things that we do inside the studio is the very first day of class, we hand out this piece of information, and it's these 3 words, and it's I am enough. And we tell our students to write that down. I am enough. Put that on their journals, write that down wherever they might be able to see it. We ask them to read it and say it to themselves each and every day. I am enough. And because it's critical to be able to work on the self. And part of working on the self is you actually honoring who you are. You actually telling yourself, yes, I am enough. Meaning I am enough for this world. I am enough for anything I need to do. I am enough. I don't need to be anything more or less than I actually am. Who I truly am is magnificent and totally unique. It's critical that we do that. So something that you can do is write that down on your bathroom mirror, on your phone screensaver. Write down those words, I am enough, and say those to yourself every single day. Now, in the beginning, you might not believe it. You might even think, I'm just saying these words. I don't really feel them. That's okay. Do it every single day. Because eventually what happens is you will start to feel it. You will start to believe it. It's an important part of the process. Working on who you truly are is something that is critical as an artist. As an artist, you are offering the world you, who you are. You don't have to be anybody else. It's actually the opposite. We want you to be the fullest version of who you truthfully are, your actual self, and then reveal that to the world. That's what a great artist does. It's difficult because this thing called confidence, self-confidence. That's what stops us. That's what gets in the way. And when I'm training actors, that's what we're working on. That's the long-term process in our training, is working on that self-confidence. And it can take years to do. It's not an easy thing to do. But what I love about it is when I see my students gain that self-confidence, when I see them start to believe in themselves and start to look at themselves with a more positive image, whether it's body image or esteem or whatever that is, but they're looking at themselves in a more positive way. To me, if I can allow one of my students to live a happier life, then we've won, right? We've already won at that moment. It doesn't matter what they accomplish or don't accomplish, because if you're happy, then you've won the game. And part of being happy in life is accepting yourself for who you truly are, and then trust the timing of your life. So I am enough. Write that down, put it everywhere where you can see it, and that is going to help you get on your way. And just know this other thing. You don't have to be anything more or less than you actually are. This industry is looking for actors of all different ages, types, sizes. It doesn't matter. We're looking for just about everybody. And you can see that reflected on TV, especially more modern contemporary television films. We're starting to see a shift into what is more of a common individual, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So I am enough. Just remember that. Next question, I'll see if I can do a couple more. Is there any free online acting school I can do as a young teen? As far as free, there's things like what I have here, and I have over, I have 20, 30 hours of free content on YouTube. So that's a good place to start, is things like what we have on our YouTube channel. That's a good place. As far as going to a free class, sometimes maybe churches or religious organizations might offer free classes. Community theaters might offer free classes. Definitely, if you can, while you're in school, high school, university, take those classes. I would do as much of that as you possibly can. That's usually a way to get involved where you don't have to spend some money. At some point, typically you'll have to then spend some more money to then do the higher level education. But in the beginning, just look around, see what's available in your area, and get involved, and get involved as much as you can. Okay, see, Jennifer, you're asking, do you recommend in-person acting classes versus virtual? If you are able to do in person, then yes. To me, virtual acting classes are secondary to in person. So there's something about the in-person environment where you are in class with other individuals. You're going up, and doing exercises in front of individuals. We have to learn how to do that, and it helps give us confidence. So I would, yes, if you can, then do that. The next level would be, sure, virtual classes, or if you have live online classes. So our studio offers the option to take our beginning classes all live online. So we have Zoom, meaning that you're live with us in the class, but you're online, but you can still see, you can still participate in a limited way, but you can still participate. You're involved in conversations. We can see you, hear you. You can see us, hear us. So it's, that's also a good thing to do. And then finally, there's something what we would call like pre-packaged classes. It's something that we're going to be offering very soon. So be on the lookout for that. And that's for people who just can't make the live sessions work. Typically prepackaged classes are much less expensive than going in person. You can take them from anywhere you are, and you can then learn at your own pace. So either one is okay. Live in person, I would recommend if you can do it. If you can't, then learn any way that you can, whether it's at your own pace online or whether it's live virtual. But any way you can, just keep doing that. Okay, wow. I'm glad I got through through those questions for you. It's amazing how fast an hour can go. I really, really appreciate you you being with me today. If you have any other questions, we'll be doing this again, and usually we do this every few weeks, so be on the lookout for our next session coming up, and you can be live with me again, because I love answering the questions that you have. In the meantime, you could always send us an email at info@truthfulacting.com if you have any questions there, or you can call or text us at the number below. If you call or text or email, they all go to Samantha, who's been on with you in the chat room today. Please let us know if you have any questions. Also, you can go to our website, truthfulacting.com, to see about any upcoming classes that we might have, if you have the ability to either take it with us in person or live online. Also, on our website, or you can go to truthfulactingonline.com. For both of those places, we're going to be offering very, very soon, we're going to be offering our pre-packaged online courses, where you can then you can take them online at your own pace, at your own schedule, and it's with me as well, and learn about acting in that way. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you all being here today. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you all soon.